Hey gang, it's Kara and Dobie Joe. I think she's probably going to sleep through most of this video. She's heard this exact same lesson I'm going to teach you right now about 1 billion times. Hey, anyway, we are going to get you started on your adventure here with your guitar. And I just want you to know that we're going to go through all the pages of your book and try to make sure your timing is right. If you have questions while you're going through these videos in your book with me, find me on social media and pop me a message, okay? And we'll talk in person about it. Because I want to make sure you're having a good time and that you understand that anyone can do this with patience and the right person kind of getting them started, okay? I believe in you. We can do this together. We're going to go slow, though, all right? All right, so anyway, I've already told you my name is Kara Barnard, and we're going to get this guitar in tune very first thing. So let's talk about tuning your guitar. Now, if you don't already have a copy of the book, which is heavily illustrated by yours truly, and it looks like that. If you don't already have a copy of that, there's a couple different things you can do. You can run into a store that might possibly be carrying it. I know for a fact Weed Patch Music in Nashville, Indiana will be carrying it. Or I can send you a hard copy if you pay me $1 million. Not quite that much. But contact me at karabarnard.com and I'll give you all the options you have for buying this book from me. I can also just send you a PDF copy of it too. So we're going to make it easy. All right. Anyway, so visit me at karabarnard.com. I think I've got it right there for you in case there's any questions in mind. It's Kara with a K. All right. Open your book up to page 6. We are going to get busy. Now, I generally, when I teach a student, when I have a student in my chair for the very first time, we do not start with a lesson in tuning, okay? Tuning can be kind of frustrating, and I believe in lessons being fun and not frustrating. But for the sake of getting you in tune to get this thing started off with me, we're going to go ahead and start here today. And if this is crazy, and you know a better way to tune your guitar, or if you got a friend that can tune your guitar, you can jump ahead to the next pages and videos with me. But let's learn how to tune your guitar, okay? I think you got this in you. Did I show you Dobie Joe? Yeah. See, she's going to be out like a light. All right, page 6. Now on page 5, I'll give you some tips on tuning and some different things are said there. But if we jump to page 6, we can just jump right to the heart of the matter, okay? Now, if a string is higher than it should be, we refer to that as being sharp. Like you're listening to these two strings, you're comparing them, or you're comparing a note to your buddy's string, and it's too high, you go, I think that's sharp, okay? So if it's higher than it should be, it's sharp. If it's lower than it should be, we refer to that as flat. I always think like sharp pointing up, like the pitch of a roof, sharp, or flat like a tire, low, all right? All right, so the first thing we're going to do, step 1, you can use a pitch pipe if you've got one. You can get an electronic tuner, which I highly suggest that you use an electronic tuner. I do really want you to have an electronic tuner. This is a Snark. This is a Snark tuner, and that's what I currently use all the time. Any kind of electronic tuner you have, you can even download an app on your phone if you need to. But the first job you've got is you've got to make this low E string sound like a low E. Now, I just put brand new strings on this guitar last night, so chances are it's not going to be an exact tune. So you can use a piano, you can use your friend's low E, you can use a tuner, you can use a lot of different things, or you can watch this video and match your pitch to mine. Did I pop you in the head? Okay, so here's my low E string, and it's actually smidge flat. So there it is in tune. Your low E should sound like this, okay? Now, if your low E sounds like this, it's too low, isn't it? You've got to tighten up the string. The most important thing I can say to you at this point is every time you move these tuners, these tuning machines up here, you want to pick the string that you're tuning and make sure you're turning the right one, right? Because if you're going like this and cranking and nothing's changing, you're on the wrong tuner, okay? So if your low E sounds low like this, you need to tighten the string, listen to that pitch go up, And there it is at E again. That's where it should be. All right? Okay, now if it's too high, let's say your low E string sounds like this. Okay, you need to loosen it to make it go down. Now see how I'm moving my hand and I'm picking my string at the same time? I'm really listening to what I'm doing. Right now I was trying to go down. Now I've gone too far down. I'm going to raise it back up. Now I got to go down again. All right, I'm not going to talk to you about harmonics in this book. That was what you refer to as a harmonic. Don't worry about that. Okay, there's my E in tune again. All right, now what we're going to do, we've got step 1 accomplished, right? We've got our E in tune. Step 2, fret your low E string on the 5th fret, and when you push down on that fret, you should hear an A note, which should sound exactly like your A string. Okay, those two should sound alike. I'm going to knock mine out of tune. And I'm also going to tell you here really quickly, because you would be amazed at how many people get tone, the pitch, and the tone mixed up, okay? Tone is this. I'm going to hum a note for you. Now when I do that, I don't change that note at all in terms of pitch, but I'm changing the tone of it. I'm changing the tone, all right? Now some people would say that that tone seems a little lower. Don't let that confuse you. It's brightness and dullness, really. But don't confuse that with pitch, okay? So here, once again, I'm staying on exactly the same pitch. Let's do a D note. Those are all D notes. Didn't change the pitch at all, but I changed the tone. Don't let that confuse you when you're tuning your guitar. A lot of people get confused by that. You'd be amazed. You'd be amazed. Okay, so right now our job at hand is to tune our A string. Now our A string, we also refer to it as our 5th string. Just really quick, your skinniest string, which is the farthest one away from your face, is your 1st string. How ridiculous is that? But that's the way everybody refers to it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your 6th string, low E, is the one that's closest to your face. Okay, so now we're tuning our 5th string, also known as our A string. I can tell you right now that's going to be off. So we're going to fret our E string on the 5th fret and listen to that note. That's an A note now because we're pressing down on the 5th fret. That string is our A string and it should sound just like that, and it does not, does it? There's my true A note. There's my 5th string. My 5th string is low or flat, so I've got to tighten it up. Now watch, I'm picking my string and I'm listening to make sure I'm going in the right direction. If I did that and I went, I know I'm going in the wrong direction. I better change my turning direction here. Okay, I'm going to listen to my E string, 5th fret again. I think I'm still a little bit low. I'm going to tighten that up. That's pretty darn close. Now, what you can do, I want you to learn how to do this all by ear first, and then use your electronic tuner to fine tune. Okay, makes sense? I got an itchy nose. Okay. So now that we've got our A string in tune, our step 3 is we are going to fret your freshly tuned A string on the 5th fret and compare it to the open D string. Okay, there it is, 5th fret on the A string. My D string should sound just like it. If anything, it's a hair sharp. Let's exaggerate the situation a little bit. Okay, let's listen now. That's what my D string should sound like. There's an out-of-tune D string. That's what it should sound like. That's what it sounds like. I think it's too high, so I need to lower it. Okay, I lowered it. Let's see if I'm closer. All right, that's pretty darn close for by ear. All right, you notice a little bit of tonal difference in that? That's a little more muted, and that's a little brighter, okay? All right, step 4, fret your freshly tuned D string on the 5th fret and compare that to your open G string. Let's go ahead and knock the G out before we even get started. Okay, so 5th fret, D string. That is a G note now. And my G string should sound just like that. Here it is. Doesn't, does it? Okay, I think my G string is too low or flat. I gotta tighten it up. Now last night when I put these strings on here, this G string was really stretching. So let's see if it'll hold its tune today. A little bit high, I think. Now you want to just get these ballpark, okay? Now you want to get them just ballpark, that is, if you have an electronic tuner, because what we're going to do next is we're going to go over everything with electronic tuner. But we want to get it in the ballpark first, by ear. Now I'm going to do something that's not in the book, because it needs to be done. Like I said, I just put these strings on last night. When you put new strings on, you have to stretch them, and I stretched and stretched them, but I think this G string still needs a little work. So let me stretch it. This is what you do. I basically run my hands up and down the string, and my thumbs that are between my hands push forward and stretch that string. Okay? Now when you stretch in a string, that's really low. So it's flat. I'm going to tighten it up. I'm using my tuner right now. This is how you stretch in a string, gang. This is a little break from our tuning lesson. Okay, then I'm going to do that again. Okay, stretch, stretch, stretch. A little bit flat. There it is. Now, the next time I do this, good, it's actually holding its tune. So you keep going over that process until every time the string actually tunes and stays at a G, even though you've gone up and down it and stretched, it still stays in tune. Until it does that, you need to keep stretching and checking it, okay? All right, so now my G string is in tune, and I'm gonna knock it back out of tune. Okay, so here's the step that we're on. We are on step 4, once again, and we are fretting our D string on the 5th fret, and that's producing a G note, and our G string should sound just like it. Knocked it out of tune. It's flat. I gotta tighten it up. Let's see if that's in now. I would call that in. Now, did you hear that little chirp when I turned that tuner? I doubt if I could ever make that do that again, but it brings up a really good point. A lot of times when we're turning our tuners, it'll go nice and smooth and you'll hear the note go up. Sometimes you'll turn and you won't hear anything, and then all of a sudden you'll hear an eek like that, and it pops real fast. All right? That's because your string isn't sliding through these nut slots enough. Okay? Now what you can do is you can take a pencil, a regular old pencil, a drafting pencil, whatever, get a little bit of lead and color in, loosen up your string and move the string off of that slot. Color in that slot with all of that lead, and then put your string back on, and that string's going to glide evenly over it and not have that little catchy sound like you heard. All right? Okay, so that takes us to step number 5. Fret your freshly tuned G string on the 4th fret. Very important. We're not using that 5th fret right now. We're using the 4th fret. So my G string that I just tuned, I'm going to fret it on the 4th fret, and that's going to give me a B note. Let's see what my B string sounds like. There's my B note on my 3rd G string. There's my B string. It is way too high, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to loosen it up. Now let's check it again. All right, that's pretty good. Now, you are going to hear the biggest tonal difference between your G string and your B string. You know why? Because if you're playing an electric guitar with standard strings on it, which you should be, you're going to notice that you have your E, A, D, and G strings are all what we refer to as wound strings. What that means is there's a thin wire with another wire wrapped around it. Okay? Your B string and your E string, your first two strings, are just what we refer to as plain strings or plain wires, nothing wrapped around it. Okay? So you'll notice a big tone between a wrapped string and an or a wound string, and an unwound string. Oops, I was on the wrong fret. So that's the same note, but huge tonal difference. Okay? All right. Step 6, we're almost done. Fret your freshly tuned B string on the 5th fret. So we're back to our 5th fret. Okay, that technically is giving us an E note, and our E string should sound just like that. And right now it does. Let's say that it doesn't. Let's change it. There's what we want it to sound like. That's what it sounds like. It's too low. I'm going to tighten it up. All right, I think that's in the ballpark. Now that I'm in the ballpark, and if you don't have an electronic tuner, that's fine. That's a good place to start. But if you do have an electronic tuner, now's when you need to use it. Okay? So I've got mine on, and that says it's in tune. That one is a tiny little freckle flat, so I adjusted it. That one's in tune. That's that G string that was being so pesky a while ago that I had to stretch for us. Okay. I also need to put a little graphite in that, little lead in that slot to make it smoother when it moves. That's my B string. If anything, it might have been a freckle sharp. Okay, but it's good now. And there's my E string. There we go. That's a perfectly in tune guitar now. All right. Okay, gang. So I tell you what, let's do. Let's talk through pages 2 through 9 real quick, and then we'll wrap this one up and get started on our next video. Just really quickly, on page where everything starts out, on page 2, I tell you a little bit about me and how wonderful I am. And the importance of a good instructor. I want you guys to all, when you find an instructor, learn how to be a consumer of instructors, right? Learn how to ask questions. Don't just don't assume that you're going to march in and find the right match for an instructor. You might have to shop around a little bit. That's the way it should be, gang. It really should. So anyway, I talk about the importance of a good instructor on that page, and then we jump over to page 3, potential obstacles. Hey, I want you to really pay attention to this page, because a lot of the work that I do with people when I'm teaching instruments has to do with what goes on in between the ears up here, right? And quite honestly, that's what makes me such a successful teacher and why so many people have taken lessons from me over the years. It's not just about training your left and right hand to do what you want them to do. You got to train this up here to have the right attitude. And page 3 is going to help you kind of look at that a little bit. On page 4, I talk about what kind of student you are. Please read this thoroughly so you can understand a little more about yourself. If you understand the way you learn better, it's going to make you a better consumer of your teaching and your lessons and all that kind of stuff. You'll be a better consumer for that. On page 5, I start giving you tuning tips. I've got a little cartoon up there about the way I feel when my students come in and they say, well, it was in tune when I left the house an hour ago. Every time when I'm in a recording studio, which I used to do all the time, I don't do so much now. I'm probably the only 61-year-old that still wears a cap backwards on her head, and so my session playing is a long time ago for me. At any rate, when I was a studio player and I used to do session work, every time that red light would go off, I would check the tuning of my instrument. That's how often I tuned. So you need to tune, and you need to tune often. All right. Every time your guitar gets taken in and out of a case, every time your guitar gets carried from your car up to your lesson studio, in air conditioning and out of air conditioning, into dry heat and back into wet heat, and all of the different variations. Wood moves very subtly, and environmental changes will affect that wood in the most subtle little ways. Okay. Also, don't be surprised when you pick up your guitar and all the strings are too high. If it gets cold, all that metal in those strings tightens up, okay? So everything in the world can make your guitar go in and out of tune, right? So tune and tune often, okay? Hey, listen, I've enjoyed this first lesson with you. You'll get used to the pace that I run when I'm doing these videos. Sometimes I go fast. Sometimes when we're actually playing things, we're going to go really slow. So get used to that right now. I'm going to make you play slowly. Dobie Jo abandoned us a long time ago. She'll pop in and out of these videos. But hey, let's have a great time together. And like I said earlier, let me know if you have any questions, and you can find me on social media. I am here for you. I want you to succeed, and we'll get through this together, okay? Thanks so much. Bye-bye.